that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Putting in the platinum explosion.
Putting in the platinum explosion. Welcome, everybody, to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanics. I'm Dylan Blight. Today I'm joined by Jono Peck.
That's me.
It's your boy, Jack Cruz.
Plat.
Special guest, Ryan Betson from the PopCulturists.
Hey, guys.
Who does a little podcast for the players. Well, it's actually called For the Players.
Correct.
But it's for the players.
Yes.
And it's called For the Players.
It works.
Nailed it.
I hope that confused everyone.
That's exactly what I was going for. I appreciate that, Dylan.
We do a podcast for the players. Wink. Wink.
Dude, the
Wink.
only reason I named it that is because I found that, that little sound clip from like the PlayStation ad,
Yeah.
like for the play. I'm like, I need that. Yoink.
It's a good. I like the name.
I structured everything around that one sound bite.
It's fantastic.
It is a good name because you get heaps of good puns out of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
And it's searchable. It's like it's Google.
Outside of,
not
you
like
get a
Pleasure
bunch
Explosion.
of PlayStation ads. Yeah, Pleasure Explosion, as I discussed with Jono when he guessed it, like you'll get very different search results.
Yeah. People will be like, "The fuck is this shit?"
Yeah. So
it's all right.
Pretty much.
The other day, I typed in Explosion Network to Google to see how it was tracking on there. And the first few results are terrorist attacks. And then there's us. So,
Dude, you've got something that sounds like jism and something that's related to terrorism. Like, you guys are fucking killing it.
We're golden. We're good. To make it, we were gonna when we were deciding on throwing up names for Grandstand Gurus. It was originally going to be Grandstand Explosion. So
I thought that was a little bit too specific.
We sort of sidestepped that one a little bit because
Like, Grandstand Pleasure wasn't that much better, really.
What's that? Sorry.
Grandstand Pleasure isn't much better either.
No, exactly. So we sort of sidestepped that one just to be a little bit less aggressive with the naming.
yeah. Nonetheless, welcome to the PlayStation podcast from the Explosion Network, the 16th result under terrorist attacks on Google. This week, I want to start off by a quick note by addressing the Castlevania series dropped on Netflix. And surprisingly, because this came out of nowhere, I only remember reading about this like a month ago. There was like, there's a Castlevania anime coming out or some crap on Netflix.
It sort
and I
of
was like,
started as like, it started off as like, they're like, oh, all of a sudden Netflix are like, yeah, we're releasing a Castlevania show. Everyone's like, holy fuck. You're like, what is it going to be? And then it was revealed it was anime, and people were like, huh, okay. And then it's come out.
It comes out, and Twitter goes crazy and says it's freaking amazing. Now, I haven't actually checked it out yet. Haven't had the time. But you've checked it out, Jack.
I did.
So be the golden ears.
Yeah.
Tell me. Is it true?
I watched 1.5. So there's only 4 episodes. It's very short. It has been renewed for season 2, and there will be 8 episodes in season 2. I watched the first episode, and I watched about 10 minutes of the second episode, and I fell asleep. So that's not a reflection on the show itself.
Strong
I
reviews.
was just super tired. So, and for some reason, when I watch anime in bed, I like start nodding out. It's the weirdest thing.
I get horny, but
I used to have anyone to watch Full Metal Alchemist in bed. I was watching it like on my iPad on the Netflix.
Get rock hard,
and I'm rock hard.
We've all been there.
No, like I would start like that's why it took me so long to get through like the first few seasons of Full Metal, because I would like watch like an episode and a half. And I'm like, I'll get through like 3 episodes tonight, like hour and a half, something like that. I would start watching like the first episode, and I'd start to get like weary, and then I'd get like fall asleep halfway through the second episode. Wake up with my iPad on my face. I'm like, the fuck. I watched the first episode. It's intriguing. It seems. I mean, I won't go into spoilers, but it's sort of a.
please no.
It looks like it's sort of. I don't know. I won't say anything about it because it is only 4 episodes, and if I say anything, it could potentially spoil.
You're enjoying
it,
though.
I'm enjoying it. I'm intrigued. The first episode was a sort of like a lead in, so not a lot of like substantial sort of stuff happened. There's a couple of big sort of things that sort of is basically setting up the next 3 episodes.
Are you a Castlevania fan? Like
I am, absolutely. Yeah, I love
Okay.
Symphony of the Night, one of the great games. Castlevania 64, one of the most underrated games of all time. I love that game. If you haven't played, I can see Dylan sort of grinning. Is he making like for our audio
I've never
listeners.
played it. I've watched video of it. It looked like hot garbage to me.
Oh, most 64 games do look like hot garbage. Do you remember the Mission Impossible game? I love that game. You look at it these days.
Super Mario 64 still looks alright.
Yeah, but that's like,
kind of looks like trash.
Say again.
Yeah,
It
it's
does.
the kind of looks like trash.
They all look like all 64 games look like trash. So, but I loved Castlevania 64. I loved Symphony of the Night. So, I'm enjoying it. It's good. Thumbs up.
Jono, do you have any interest in this?
Who are you talking to?
Your name's Jono.
The person on the podcast named Jono.
It cut out. I didn't hear it. Yeah, I'm going to watch it, definitely. I've never played a Castlevania game, but I'm interested because...
Of the hype?
Yeah, it's just the hype. And like
that's the same as me.
I know that Castlevania is revered, and I'm interested in that aspect, so it'd be good to check it out. I've heard that it's got some rather interesting themes, so should be interesting. Yeah.
That it does.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to say, Brett, I've never actually touched a Castlevania game ever. Not for a lack of trying. It's not as if I was like, yeah, fuck it, I don't want to touch it. Just never really crossed paths with it. But I was watching Netflix with the missus before we came in here. We're watching Jane the Virgin, very different show. But yeah, like the little trailer thing came up for Castlevania. It looks rad. I'm totally in.
Yeah,
I've never played. I've played like 10 minutes of a Castlevania game, and when this got announced, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's a thing that's going to happen." But I had zero interest. But then after seeing the hype, I'm like, I feel obligated to at least check it out.
Yeah.
Now, so.
When did this get announced though? Like super recently.
Not
right?
long ago. That's the thing.
It was probably nearly 4 months ago they announced the show was happening, and then about a month later they announced it was going to be an anime, and then there was sort of radio silence until it dropped this week. So
like it takes a really long time to make any sort of like animated feature, let alone 4 episodes. Like how did no one know about this until now? That's really impressive.
It's just sort of stealth release, but it's getting a lot of hype.
It bodes well because the same people that made this are also now working on, as well as season 2 for this, they're also working on an animated Assassin's Creed series for Netflix.
Oh yeah, I got that press release.
This also bodes well for Netflix. Netflix is going to do the animated series for, not the animated series, the Witcher series, sorry. Not animated, but the Witcher series. So it just bodes well for the Netflix series. Do you
I'm all
excited
in
for
on
the
that.
Witcher one, right?
Yeah.
Look, once again, The Witcher, like, I've only just dived into The Witcher. Like, I've had it for about a year and a half, whenever it came
You're
out.
one of these.
2 years.
You're like a Buddy Watson.
But, funny enough, so I went and hung out with my parents over the weekend, and my stepdad got The Witcher, and he went to town on it. He's like a 60-year-old man. He's smashing The Witcher.
Wow.
Really?
That kind of
That's
made me
really
go,
cool.
I really should just do this.
Is he like a normal video gamer, or does he just play things randomly?
My stepdad hadn't owned his own console until about a year and a half ago. He's now 60.
Jesus.
And the first game he ever played was Uncharted 4. And him and my mum used to play it would play it together. Like, you know, mum couldn't play it. My stepdad would. And they would just spend it for hours and hours. Now, I think they probably took him like 80 hours to finish the game just because they were bad, but...
Why? That's such a weird age to suddenly get one.
Yeah.
I need to know more now. Like, what was the...
Well, because he works a quite stressful job. He's a big project manager for like the electricity industry, so in like the power stations and whatnot. And he's like, I need something to chill out. And he came to my house one year, and he was playing the PlayStation. He's like, I need to get into this. And then my mum spent the better part of 6 months just badgering him, like, buy a PlayStation. He's like, nah, I'm too old for this shit. And and then she was like, nah, screw it. Went out and bought him a PS4 with Uncharted 4 and Ratchet, and he loves it. Yeah.
It's great.
Big fan.
I always like hearing stories of older people
me too.
playing video games and stuff like that. Like I used to work with this guy. He left last week, but my old 2IC is like 61, 62 or something like that. And he only got into video games like mid-50s or something like that, I think, because his sons like live in Queensland or whatever, and he's down here in Tasmania, and their like weekly kind of social get-together with his sons we'll all do raids on Destiny together.
That's awesome.
So that's his family time, is to go raiding in Destiny. And I always just like hearing stuff like that because it's always it's just the opposite of the generalization of what games are by most people. Like
And the best thing about it, if the raid goes bad, he can do the whole like, you know, I fucked your mum shit, and it's totally legit.
Yeah. Shout out to
It's
William
true.
Holbert. 69-year-old plays probably more
Gamer.
games than all of us put together.
It's probably true, actually, because I mean, I'd play more games if I didn't have to
Retired,
do
yeah.
anything as well. Yeah, that's the best thing about being like, I wonder if when I'm old and finally retire and everything, instead of being like older like my like grandparents and stuff
Playing
like that.
golf and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like all that. It's like, oh man, I'll just catch up on so many games and stuff. It's exciting.
Dude, my only, like, I totally think the same thing. I'm like, man, if I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna be able to play all these cool old games, and I'm like, my hand-eye coordination is already starting to get fucked. Like, I could barely play multiplayer FPS anymore. Like, my reaction time is not there.
Twitch reaction time.
So add like 40 years on that, not a chance.
I think it's really interesting. Like I can't remember where I've talked about it before, but as gamers get older, they're going to have to adapt controllers and things like that to cater for arthritis and that kind of thing. And I guess by the time we're old and in nursing homes, VR will be pretty much everything.
Yeah,
and
we'll be just controlling everything with our minds. We won't need fucking
We won't
controllers
have to-
anymore.
Yeah.
They'll just
Can't
insert.
wait.
I can't remember what I was doing, but I was lying in bed. Oh God, I don't know, a little while ago, and I was doing something on my iPad, and typing on an iPad is like tedious,
Laborious.
as hell,
Stupid.
and
Not a fan.
and I was like, fucking, this is so annoying. I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, just stick a fucking chip in my head and let me just like think what I want
Minority,
to happen.
Yeah, but that's really-
Minority Report.
See, this is where we're going to get into a little bit more deeper, bit tangent. So, like, the only problem with that chip in your brain is, can you switch it on and off? Because if you start thinking about really fucked up shit and then it just starts typing in your iPad, that's going to be a problem.
I was sitting there. Sal's like, what the hell's that on you? What,
Big
what?
tit,
Oh, shit.
blonde girl.
Yeah, all you're going to really do is just have an actual written list of how often you think of boobs.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
you'll be trying to write a shopping list, and then all of a sudden it will turn into like milk, eggs, cheese. What the heck was that noise? Oh, whoops! Now it's coming up on the screen. Oh crap! How do I stop this?
That's
true.
that's probably the real way it would happen. It wouldn't just be random words. It would be the whole your mind conscious, like, what the fuck? No, stop. No, stop.
Fuck this thing.
Yeah, fuck this. Right, someone knock me out. This needs to end soon. All right, I want to talk about probably
PlayStation.
the biggest game releasing this week. I just want to quickly touch on is Final Fantasy 12 remaster thing,
Zodiac
whatever the hell
Age.
it's called. Zodiac Age. I don't care about this game.
Yeah.
Jack apparently cares about this game. I tried to play it. I played like half an hour to an hour of it ever. It bored me a lot because of the tedious nature of it, and because it's basically like a single player MMO game. And I had absolutely zero interest in playing this. I read a story this morning, a preview on it from Kotaku, where they were telling me that you can actually fast forward the battles in it now, like speed up the terrible nature of the battles and
Like
stuff
in
like
Final
that.
Fantasy VII, the
Like that,
PS4
yeah, but
version.
finally, oh my god, if you ever played Final Fantasy 12, it's just like, wow, why is this like a single, what is going on in this game? It's terrible. So, is anyone actually excited for this other than Jack for a start? Jono, you look like you give zero claps about.
No, I was saying to
I'm
you guys.
never touching an RPG again.
Yeah. I was saying to you and Ash after the podcast yesterday, after I finish Persona 5, which hopefully is tonight, if not tomorrow,
Never playing an RPG again.
and after Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I'm not going to play any more Japanese RPGs. I just don't have the time.
And ever again.
Oh, maybe. Never say
Surely.
never. But,
Not even that new Star Ocean game that eventually comes out, if the series
Nah.
isn't dead.
Persona 6.
I just need to, assuming that the future will hold fatherhood and things like that for me, I just need to decide I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, priorities.
You know.
I get it.
And I mean, it's unfortunate in a little way that there haven't been heaps of awesome games coming out since Persona. I haven't really missed anything, I don't think. But yeah, I need to finish.
It hasn't been that big of a year at the moment, and it is weird that like the biggest game last week was Crash. Was it? Yeah, and then
It's been
that was
big, but
it's
it
like
was
a remake
front-loaded,
remaster,
yeah.
and then this week's biggest game's also another remake remaster, and
It's pretty quiet
Whatever you wanna
until
call
about
it.
August, because we were looking
Yeah.
at it. We were like just doing the same thing. We're sort of projecting what's our plans for the next month and a half, 2 months, and it's pretty dead. Like, this is
Yeah,
a great
it's not
time
a
to
great
go
deal.
back. And then we get hammered from like mid-August onwards.
end of September
September.
onwards. I
Third-party
think
games.
Destiny and stuff
fucking
like
crazy.
that probably is the start of it. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, and how the shit
Gee.
are we going to play Assassin's Creed, Wolfenstein, and Mario on the same day?
Oh, August. Yeah, I got Rabbids though.
Can we talk about Final Fantasy for a second? Can I say why I like Final Fantasy?
No,
just gonna skip
hold
over
on.
the Final
Ryan, do you care about this?
No.
Final Fantasy 12. No,
Like,
okay.
I don't like Final Fantasy in the slightest. It doesn't interest me in the least.
Jack,
Have fun,
sell
Jack.
our listeners
I like
on
Final
why
Fantasy.
they should even care. Sell our listeners, sell me, in fact, on why I should care about this game.
It's to be honest, I don't even remember like why I liked it. I just remember it
doing
was
well.
a Final Fantasy game, and I was like in on that. No,
Is this an MMO?
No. Final Fantasy 12 is a single player,
Okay.
traditional. Well, not traditional. It's sort of the first one to adopt. So you had 10, which was obviously a
Open
massive
world
hit.
combat.
11 was the MMO, and then 12 is the next. And it was the first time they sort of went to more of like an active slashing battle system, like we sort of see in the Final Fantasy today, and they stopped that turn-based type fighting system. I just remember really enjoying it. I probably put 30 hours into it, and I reckon I only got halfway through, and I hit a wall at one point where I just couldn't pass this one boss, and I couldn't be bothered grinding at that point in time, and I never went back to it back in the day. But I remember I was really I really dug it for what I played with it back in the day. It's been 10 years since I played it. I remember where I was exactly when I was playing it back in like 2008. So it's been nearly 10 years. I remember the story was really cool. I was sort of in a bit of a JRPG phase at that point, I guess you'd call it, on the old PS2. Final Fantasy X, obviously, Star Ocean, like Shin Megami Tensei. There was a heap of like JRPGs out at that point in time, and that was just sort of one of them that I was enjoying. So yeah, I'm sort of, I'm tepid for it. Like I'm not like gagging for it. It's not like I'm.
You have been oddly hyped for this. I remember when it got announced.
Oh yeah,
you were sharing links to the $300 million collector's
You know-
edition, going, guys, do you think I should possibly get this?
should I drop
and we're all
$400
like,
on these
it's fucking
weird
chess
helmets?
pieces for like $1,000, Jack. Stop.
I'm a sucker for nostalgia. I can't fucking.
And this is where Patreon comes in handy, guys. Yeah, get
Yeah,
Patreon to fund your shit.
Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for that shit. Someone's like, "Hey, you want this useless collectible for like $450?" I'm like, "Go on."
It is.
Go
It
on.
honestly is though one of the most useless, terrible, overpriced collector's editions I have seen in quite some time. I think beyond
Yeah.
the like beyond the like the Wolfenstein, was it, and stuff like that, where it's like, here's the collector's edition. I'll BT
By the way,
you
there's
have to
no-
buy the game afterwards.
Dude, Injustice did the
fuck is
same
that?
thing. Like, Injustice had like, hey, here's these lovely statues of Batman and Brainiac.
Yeah.
You want
By
the
the way,
game?
you can buy the
Oh,
game
no,
separately.
that's over there.
Do you know the most frustrating
That's
thing
not
about
a
the Wolf?
game collector's edition.
You know what the frustrating thing about the Wolfenstein thing was? Was that fucking statue was dope.
Sick.
Yeah, the Panzerhound or whatever they're called. That thing was fucking sick. I wanted that so bad. I nearly bought it. Separately.
But how is it? Explain to me how it's a game collector's edition if it doesn't come with the fucking game.
Well, it's a collector's edition for the game.
That's the stupidest.
It's an accessory
bullshit.
for the game.
What are we? Fuck off. Who invented this shit? Paris.
How many
Hilton?
people do you reckon who didn't read the fine print bought that Wolfenstein one, and they're like, the fuck is the game? They take it back to the shop, they're like, oh yeah, sorry, it doesn't come with it, my bad.
And they're like, oh, and we're sold out. Sorry.
Yeah. They're normally
And that'd
pretty
be
good
fucked
though.
anyway.
They're normally pretty good GameStop with being, and like with being like, no, you can't. Like,
I think you
there's
had
no
to
game
order
in
it online.
Yeah, it was an online only thing.
Yeah.
But those retailers are normally pretty good. I remember back in the day, I went try and buy like Metal Gear Solid. 'Cause I played Metal Gear Solid the original on like the demo disc like 100 times in a row, and I'm like, I've got to go buy this game, Mum. Let's like took her around to like Kmart and stuff, try and find the game. And they didn't have it, but they had the VR missions. Remember the separate Metal Gear Solid 1 VR missions that came in? And I was like, fuck it, this will do. This will appease me. I took it to the counter and the guy's like, he's like, have you got the original one? I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, you're not going to be able to play this. I'm like, what? He's like, you need like an original save file.
The extra,
for this to play this. I'm like, motherfucker. Mum's like, well, you're not getting it. I'm like, please.
Your mum was like,
She's
hey,
like,
Jack,
stop
don't
saying
say
motherfucker,
Yeah.
you little shit.
Yeah, I don't think I was
10-year-old
swearing at that point in time, but
I believe you were swearing from the moment you dropped out of the womb, Jack, to be honest.
it's probably. I remember the first time I said fuck in front of my dad. He lost his shit.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I think old parents usually lose the shit unless you like were born in like the slums or like something terrible where your parents are like doing drugs in the corner. Then I think most parents aren't really the biggest fan of swearing. All right, I'm going to lead you through a bit of a tangent to get to the topic of the week. We haven't gone on any tangents, but I got a breadcrumb trail to get us there. So the first thing is Horizon Zero Dawn dropped a free update this week.
It did.
Whoa.
Adds New Game Plus and also
yeah.
Ultra Hard mode.
And face paint. Don't
And-
get face paint.
Oh, and face paint, and I think some new weapon or something. I think or something like that. Anyway, a bunch of cool little stuff like that. It's nice to see that they're
supporting it,
patching in stuff like this, and it does make sense because the game is an RPG, so
and they want to keep
makes sense.
They want to keep it relevant leading up to. They don't want it to get to the
people just trade it in before the
exactly right.
expansion.
It makes sense.
Out,
they don't want. Yeah, they want to keep it relevant. So when the expansion comes out, people are going to actually buy it rather than not. Now, is it a standalone? Do we know if this DLC is standalone or you need the original game to play it?
They haven't said so far as I've seen.
No, you're spot on. They haven't said yet.
Yeah,
interesting.
I'd presume they'd follow, depending on the size. I'd guess they'd follow the same route as
Uncharted,
Lost Legacy.
I think it comes down to the same thing because they haven't announced the price point or anything for it yet. So if it comes out and it's like $40-$50 or it's 10 hours, whatever, same vein as Uncharted, then we'll get a rough understanding. But
or if they do like a First Light way,
yeah.
Or like First Light was cheaper than like Lost Legacy, and that was standalone as well.
Left Behind as well.
Actually, Infamous probably started it, really, when you think about it, with like Festival of Blood and stuff like that. Because that was standalone as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Festival of Blood.
Oh, no, Festival of Blood wasn't. No.
No, it wasn't. No.
One of them was, I think. I'll never remember.
First Light was.
First Light was, but one of the other ones
had its own plat.
Plat.
I do like hearing that. I do like hearing Plat. It makes me giggle.
All right. So yeah, if you like Horizon and you want to go back to that, check out that. I'm just happy to hear Guerrilla's doing that. And next note on Guerrilla is that, and this is why we get to this week's main topic.
Oh, this is like a crazy picture on the wall red string thing. I like this.
Yeah. Guerrilla Games. So Guerrilla this week won an award, or the dude that composed their music, I suppose. They won a Jerry Goldsmith Award for Best Original Score for a video game. And I remember seeing this tweet up on their Twitter, and I was like, and it got me thinking, even with Persona 5 and everything, I think Horizon Zero Dawn's score is probably the best video game music I've heard all year. And then between that and last week playing a lot of Crash Bandicoot and going, man, I fucking love the music in these games, and the nostalgia bones are just kicking me right in the ass. This music's so great. Horizon, congrats on winning your award. All right, guys, let's talk about our favorite video game soundtracks of all time. String Theory,
you're going
solid
so well,
segue.
and then the yarn clearly was still in the ball at the end there.
The lead is there.
Now,
that's right.
Before we do this, I think we need to set some ground rules first. You cannot
Tony
pick
Hawk
Star
doesn't
Wars
count.
games because that's cheating. You cannot pick Star Wars
Now,
games.
on top of that, when you say soundtracks, now are we talking like musical scores, or are we talking like Tony Hawk? Or
no Tony Hawk.
Oh, so
No Tony
we're talking like composed scores.
Yeah.
Yes, composed.
Oh, that changes.
Original score.
Mine's FIFA 15, 16,
I was going to go
14,
Dave Merritt
and
Freestyle BMX on the PS1.
Or like no Grand Theft Auto or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
There is one game on my list that I'll make a case for it, even though I don't think the music was originally made for it. But we'll get to that in a moment. So I've got a list of backup ones in case one of mine get taken.
Me too.
It's fine.
Yep. Do you want to go like one each, and we'll go around?
We're going to go one each. I'll start at Jono because he's the first face.
I reckon I know what for John's first one's going to be. But.
And we're just going to rotate around as we go, and then at the end of this, we shall hopefully have an official explosion pop culturist kind of.
Are you noting
list.
these down? Are you noting these down?
We can do.
I'll note them down.
Okay.
You can.
I'll be the noter. The noter, yeah.
So Jono,
I've also got some backups, so I'll read one that I don't think anyone else will have, and we'll do it that way. My first soundtrack is Shovel Knight.
Interesting.
Because they're like, as I'm playing through, I just finished the Spectre Knight DLC, and it lets you pick any level pretty much from the start. And I was picking levels because I knew that the soundtrack for that level was awesome, for example. And they've actually changed the soundtrack slightly for the DLC, which I hate because the music's so awesome in that original game. But when you can think of a level and know the song before you click on that level, it's a good sign that's good. And
Shovel Knight's in like this weird, like a lot lately in the last 5 years or so. I think a lot of these indie games that have been coming out have had amazing soundtracks and stuff like that. And even though it's not on my list because I haven't played it yet because it's a PC nerd game. Undertale, I know that like everyone's a huge fan of, and I know people are obsessed with that soundtrack, so I'm looking forward to playing that on my Vita, hashtag the Vita lives. But yeah, it's like there's all these great indie games with soundtracks, so that's good. Shovel Knight's soundtrack's great. I can buy this. I accept this.
You accept
choice,
it.
you know?
Acceptable.
I'm allowed to stay on the podcast. Great.
You're allowed to stay for
Explosion
another
Network
day.
approved.
You can stay a little while longer.
I bought myself months on this podcast with the Crash Bandicoot prediction. Thank you very much. Hashtag Jono and Dylan were right.
Thank you very much.
And if anyone out there has a copy
You're gonna keep
of
riding
Crash
that one,
Bandicoot,
aren't you? Just gonna keep riding that one.
I haven't got much else to go with. But if anyone out there has a copy, I need one, and I can't find one, and I really want one, and I don't want to buy it digital. So hit me up. Slide in my DMs.
Jack. What's your first one?
My first one is one that I think impossible that someone else will pick, but Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, is just and I went with Metal Gear Solid 2 just because I think it has the superior soundtrack to the first game. Out of all of the games, Metal Gear Solid 3 is my favorite game of all time, but Metal Gear Solid 2 is just that whole game as like a cinematic sort of construction it really changed my sort of perception of what games could be more so than even the first one did, and the way it was put together and still holds up to this day. You know, obviously it's not the most graphically intense game, but it still holds up graphically, and the sound is just awesome. Every different cutscene, every different thing, there's always something like, and that theme music. It's just
I wasn't aware we had to sing it. I'm gonna have to do some googling.
It was just epic. So it was just that, like, I thought that theme music was perfect for like that sort of that pulpy action, you know, espionage sort of game. It just fit in perfectly. All the different themes throughout the game. So that was. You know,
I know we talked about this briefly once, and everyone yelled at me. So try not to yell at me again. But Metal Gear Solid 4, as previously mentioned, was my first Metal Gear game.
Yes.
And whenever I think of Metal Gear music, I think of Guns of the Patriots. Do you like the soundtrack on that, or does it just stand out to me because it was the first one I played?
It's good. It's not as memorable as 2. So, like, it's fine. Like, it's just one of those things that's fine. They actually got in trouble after Metal Gear Solid 2 because I'm pretty sure they ripped off that. Like, there was some sort of thing, some Russian composer was like, you stole my, like, one of the tones or the beat or something for that theme song. So they weren't actually allowed to use that.
They Pharrell Williams it.
Yeah, they actually weren't allowed to use it, you know, for sort of the sort of future games in the series, which was a shame. But even like shout out just to Metal Gear Solid 3's theme song Snake Eater, which is still one of the great theme songs of any game.
It's a James Bond song, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's just perfect for that, like that game, that era, that sort of spy, you know, Cold War sort of era. So that was. Shout out to that one, but yeah, my
it's all right. I know you're not a fan of 5, but
me. Are you saying me?
Yeah,
yes, I am. Nick's not the
yeah,
fan.
I thought you didn't like 5.
No, I love 5. I love 5.
I thought you didn't.
I was
like
disappointed
it
with the ending.
Okay,
of it.
just the end.
Nick's the one that hates 5.
It's funny though when I'm thinking about it now. Like Phantom Pain's soundtrack was mostly
80s
like licensed music. Like it was an 80s playlist.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feature much
orchestral
original
score,
music, which is really weird when you think about it compared to the rest of the Metal Gear games,
exactly.
I suppose.
Yeah,
even Peace Walker had
Yeah.
probably more music on the PSP and stuff
Most
like
definitely.
that. So
The great thing about Metal Gear Solid 4 is that Snake has an iPod that you can listen to the original tunes.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that. Shit.
And there's a fight, like in the fight scene with Ocelot, the fist fight, spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 4, it goes through all the different soundtracks from the previous games, and it like pops up on the screen.
it does.
It
makes
does
a point it makes a point of saying like, this is the song from like the I don't know if they go back to the NES one and the SNES one, but it says like the name of the song. It's really cool. But it's a good pick, Jack. And you could pick any of those first 3 Metal Gear Solid games. I'd pick the first one if I was going to. But
yeah, I agree with Jack. I think Jack's spot on. The soundtracks to the Metal Gear games really just help encapsulate like the Kojima's sort of grand cinematic approach, which is fantastic. So because he essentially makes 10, 15 hour long movies, I should say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And I think that's where really good scores come from is movies.
Yeah.
See, when when we do movies and we look at movie reviews, we talk about score and stuff. I'm one of those people that if I don't notice a score, it's normally doing its job, which is a really bad way to look at it. And that's what's really tough with this. Like Metal Gear.
It's like the Marvel movie way of doing it.
Yeah, like you know it's there and it helps, you know it because you feel the emotion that punches with it. But, you'll notice a bad score before you even ever notice a good score. But then you'll always notice a great score. And that's exactly what Metal Gear is.
Yeah. Definitely.
What's your first one then, Ryan?
As I said, my first pick is that because I when you said soundtracks, my brain started shooting a couple of different directions. I thought we're going maybe down, just general song list. Like I said, I would have put on, Dave Mera Freestyle BMX PS1. That shit's solid. But then you've gone, oh no, it's composed. So it kind of caused me to move. I'm going to say Journey, man. Like with a game that has very little, well, actually no dialogue, and all the emotion you can get from that game comes purely from its visuals and what you hear. I think it's fantastic. Just where when you're coming as you solve a puzzle, the music swells and all those sort of things. I'm a big fan of the Journey soundtrack.
Yeah, great call. That was one of my backups, Journey. That's and that's the thing. Like you said, it's hard to pick these when you sort of. Because you think about it, like you said, a great soundtrack just might not be something you notice because it just sort of melds in perfectly. But because of the way that Journey was presented in that, no dialogue, no text, nothing. It was the journey. The music was almost part of the storytelling in it, and it changed with the situation when the tone changed. It became darker when you were getting chased by something. When it was getting sort of closer to the end, it just swelled. You hit the nail on the head with that.
I think that did win an award as well.
Definitely.
Like
definitely.
Since we got here talking about Horizon, I'm pretty sure the Journey won the same
It would be
something
crazy if it didn't.
No, I'm pretty sure. I do remember it winning and it wasn't even
like a BAFTA award.
Yeah, it did.
Crazy,
yeah, it wasn't even like a games sort of industry award. It was like it was like an excellence achievement sort of award for a musical
of
score.
artsing. Yeah, good artsing won awards.
Yeah.
There's talking about awards and Game Awards and stuff like that is a good lead in for my one actually, because my first one, and now I attempted to write down the person's name who did all of them as well, and I found as I wrote them all down for all of my picks including backups that I would either come across as an idiot or something attempting to say nearly every person's name, so I might skip that. But my first pick is The Last of Us.
Yeah, man.
Oh my gosh.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which was done by Gustavo, something I can't pronounce your last name. Sorry. I really like you though.
We'll just call him
I've seen
Gus.
a picture of you. Hey Gus.
Yeah,
Thanks
Gus
for making
did
The Last
great.
of Us soundtrack. Now, The Last of Us soundtrack is amazing. Absolutely adore it. Love it. The orchestral, acoustic guitar type, whatever stuff like that, like the theme music, all the music plays throughout the game. Fantastic. The biggest letdown for me this year, or this year is in the year that this came out, was the first year I think that the Spike Game Awards were off and they were doing the Game Awards as something else. And at the end of it, they're like, cool, we're going to celebrate games music by like playing some of the best music of the year. And then at the end of the year when it came out, all they did was they had a bunch of Grand Theft Auto 5 music. And I was like, so you're not celebrating games music, really, because this is just a whole bunch of tunes that were in a game. It's not music that was made for a game. This is like if at the fucking Academy Awards, they were just playing...
Someone's iPod.
It's like, they don't do that. They celebrate the songs that were made for the actual... And, I mean, talking about how they stuff up the Game Awards constantly and they need to change things about that is a completely different topic. But I was like, really, guys? You're just going to... Instead of talking about this fantastic, like, cinema-esque level score that was done for The Last of Us, probably one of the greatest games of all freaking time, you're not going to play music from that and celebrate that, dude. You're just going to play this playlist.
So you're one of those people that gets mad about the Games Awards.
I watch them every year. I enjoy them. They are not without problems, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Last of Us. I mean, I can hear songs from that come on. Like I have it on Spotify and I listen to it like every now and then. I just chuck on and stuff like that. And like I have a playlist of game soundtrack songs I like and stuff like that. And it's just fantastic to me. It's probably it's part of what makes that game great to me too. Like everything about that game is fantastic. I'm sure everyone agrees, but like part of the reason that game's whole package comes together to be this really great thing of like, oh, games can be this, like as people say, like when they played the first Metal Gear Solid, like, oh, games can be something greater than just running around jumping as Mario, like playing Last of Us, between the writing, the acting, the way everything was framed between the cinematic clips and stuff like that, and then it's all tied together with this really fantastic score. And I think without the score, even if you don't notice the score, I don't think the game would be as memorable as it was.
Definitely
There's
adds
a lot of the moments.
Definitely
You could
adds
put
a lot.
that soundtrack next to any movie, I reckon, and it
stands head to toes with some of the greatest.
Pretty standard
movie
with
scores.
Naughty Dog soundtracks. They've always been, like, obviously Uncharted, fantastic as in suit, melding in with those games and suiting each moment. And you spoke about Crash earlier, like one of the big things I took away from the collection is that music still was so catchy and
Still good.
Yeah, it's still good. It's still
I went
good.
and I normally turn off the system music for my PlayStation because I think it's the most obnoxious shit in the world. But I got the Crash theme and I was like, wonder if this has the system music, and bing, and it's the theme. I'm like, yup.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna, because normally sometimes I just let it sit there and idle in the menu, but I'm totally cool with it right now. Like, feeling it.
All right, Jono, what's your second one?
Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, that was gonna be my next one. Well done.
Yeah, that
Solid pick.
soundtrack, like, that was the first time I remember playing a game and the soundtrack was dynamic. Like, if you got onto your horse, it would make a sound and the music would start playing. And not only was the actual music so fitting for the environment and the Wild West and, the typical kinds of instruments and music and vibes you're used to seeing in Westerns, but the actual, like, original scores that they would add into the game. Like, as you go into Mexico, a song starts playing and it suits the moment so well. And then I think there's some poignant moments later in the game where after you finish a mission and you have to make that long ride back to the next checkpoint, and they deliberately, I think they make it so you can't fast travel, but they just have a song start playing that just fits the moment so perfectly. And I think they really knocked it out of the park with that one. It's a similar one to The Last of Us, where it's just a genuinely awesome composition, and it could stand up next to any film soundtrack, I think.
Because it's the same sort of point that Jack touched on with Uncharted, in terms of it really helped tell the location of where Nathan was, and Red Dead's the exact same. Like, it gives you, listening to that, you feel what you'd think a Western would be. Like, it just it's so true, and it just hits you like, like, even
it makes it immersive somehow.
Even just like the opening, when it's just doing the loading screen, it's just the revolver. It's like that, it's like sort of like real, like, just quiet, chilled guitar, and it just really sets a scene in like seconds.
Yeah, and it can, like, sometimes it'll be mostly empty with just a few strums of the guitar or a few notes, just filling in the silence and just letting it resonate. It's a really great effect, I think.
Definitely.
I would say more, but as I've said before, I still haven't played Red Dead.
Jesus Christ, Dylan.
Because, like, look, I've seen in your vlog, you've got your Xbox, you don't use it. Go to EB Games, get Red Dead for $9. I know it's a PlayStation show, but you can't.
I've got Red Dead. It was on PS Plus. I just need to get PS3 going.
Do it for the trophies, Dylan. If you're not going to do it for
us,
us, do it for the trophies.
Jesus Christ. No,
I did it to play it again, so I played it on the Xbox. I know, shame, I'm sorry. But
whatever game you're playing right now, Dylan, it's not as good as Red Dead Redemption.
That's
so just
100% true.
Play it.
I'll get to it. I hope to get to it before the second one, whatever that's
there
called.
has to be a Cashies in Tasmania somewhere, right? Like, get a PS3.
There is a Cashies in Tasmania. Even in Launceston. I don't even have to go all the way to Hobart.
Especially in Launceston.
Maybe for Extra Life we can set that up.
I can play some Red Dead?
Oh, dude,
Good
just
idea.
be really careful, because when we streamed Red Dead, we spent the whole time talking about what we think Red Dead 2 will be, where we want it to go, and then once the stream ended, within 3 hours, they announced the delay. I was like,
Christ.
get the... Like, I felt bad. I'm like, I don't think we have enough power to do it, but I think we jinxed it.
Look, I'm not in no rush. Keep postponing it. Gives me more time to play the second one. Or first one, whatever you want to say. Everyone ignores the first one.
Technically, it's the second one. No one played the first
Oh, yeah.
one.
Oh, shit. You got us on a technicality there. Yeah, it is the second one.
Red Dead Revolver.
It's actually which I think I played some of that as well. But Jack, what's your second one?
Second choice is, and I nearly cheated with this one. I nearly chose Final Fantasy 15 because you can listen to all of the other soundtracks of the Final Fantasy games.
No. no.
But I thought, no, I can't do that. That will not be allowed. So I went with my favorite Final Fantasy game, and it's probably my favorite video game soundtrack, only just beating Metal Gear Solid 2. Final Fantasy 8 is.
I thought you were going to say 7.
No, I think
I have 3 Final Fantasies in my entire like backup list and everything.
Mm-hmm.
8 is not amongst them.
Have you played 8?
Yes.
So 8 is sort of looked at as the ugly stepchild little brother of 7 and 9.
Face.
You know, people Final Fantasy 8 is my favorite Final Fantasy, and it's not without its issues. Obviously, the story, the protagonist for the first 40 odd hours is a
dick.
He's unbearable.
It's horrible.
He can't look. He has fantastic character development.
I've played the first disc. I have enough reason.
He has fantastic character development in the last 2 discs. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, well, I only played the first disc.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you
My
lost
30
me at the
hours
last
wasn't
2
enough.
discs.
It has its problems, that game. Not one of those, though, is the soundtrack, which is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, so why is the music great? Because I know like the opening cinematic, like that song is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I hear that song and I'm like, oh, that's Final Fantasy 8. That's great. I love that.
Just from Go to Woe, it's just fantastically put together. Every different, like obviously the iconic battle music, but even like there's so much. Like some of my favorite Final Fantasy music is just the music when you're in the towns, the different towns, the real.
There's a music that plays in the school that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. It's everything. I listened pretty much I listened to a little bit of Final Fantasy 5 and 10 soundtracks in Final Fantasy 15, but for most of the 60 odd hours I put into Final Fantasy 15, I had the Final Fantasy 8 soundtrack playing on repeat. It's the card game music, the triple triad music, even just some of my favorite music in that game is just the music in the towns. Like you're in like the beach town of Blight, I think it is, and it's just like it's this calming like do 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 do, like real sort of string sort of music, and it's not but the battle scenes at like the big cut scenes and the big set pieces it's epic music, and it's really memorable. And I probably spent collectively more time with that game than I have any other game, because I've played through it twice, and I've put over 100 hours in both times, and just the music sort of just stays with me, and I love it. Like I listen to the soundtrack often. It's fantastic. I think it's better than any other Final Fantasy game that I've played.
And I like the asterisks at the end.
Well, I haven't played all the Final Fantasy games, so anyone could call me out and be like, "Oh, Final Fantasy 4's soundtrack's better than 8."
It's like with Final Fantasy though, like
and they're all fantastic.
In my mind, I separate the chiptune era of Final Fantasy music to the like PS1 to now era, whatever you like proper music, proper in quotations. Like, I appreciate, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
No one at me. Don't at me.
Not MIDI.
Not MIDI. Thank you, Jono.
Yeah.
Ryan, what's your next one?
Yeah, so now that we're sort of thinking about it, like my brain keeps trying to go back to sort of older games, like older times, like whatever. But I thought it was kind of too easy to pick recent stuff. But then I've remembered like a soundtrack that I actively listen to probably once every 2-3 weeks. It is the 2016 Doom soundtrack.
Good pick,
man.
Good pick.
I have such a soft spot for like metalcore, industrial, like metal. That's my shit.
Yeah.
Metal man. Yeah, like so having. I remember putting the sound when I got the game and I put it in, and it's like just blew me out of like straight up. Like I can even name the songs. In fact, so like one of the opening ones is like Rip and Tear. Like Rip and Tear is awesome. Like that's the one that sort of kicks in. It has this sort of slow breakdown in the middle, and then it just punches you in the fucking face.
That's another game. Like I never finished Doom, the game. I want to go back and finish it. I was enjoying it. I wasn't having the greatest time. But I did listen to all of the soundtrack on Spotify because I was enjoying the music. But from what between 5 to 10 hours or whatever I put into it, that's the way they use the music so good. Like you'll just be chilling, playing, and then it's like when you get into a battle, it's like
dun dun dun.
Listening to before about that, like how the dynamic, you know, how it adapts to what you're playing.
Yeah.
Like, Doom did that better than anything else. As in the opening, you know, as you sort of get out of your little crypt and you walk down the hallway, you pick up that shotgun, and the guitar's like chung chung as you reload the gun.
Yeah, it's like dun dun.
Yeah, and
I just think of that.
Beats
Like
the
it
shit
just,
out of you.
and you're going up the elevator, and it's like dun 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 dun. It's like
No,
fuck yeah.
that probably was one of the best soundtracks from last year, I reckon.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
see,
in
I
my
was
top
lucky enough. When I went to PAX last year, they had Mick Gordon, who's the composer. He did a little panel, and by panel, it's him playing guitar in a small amphitheater.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That's
And it was
awesome.
fucking nuts. Like the windows were rattling, and like the door, like it was nuts. Because like that's what's so great about it. Because it's got the sort of the meaty guitar. He played it on like this 9-string fucking beast, and then on top of that, it's, you know, very low, like very oddly bassy for a, you know, metal. And then they've got this. He explained he has this Russian synthesizer that he ordered online, and because it's made during like Cold War times, none of them were ever the same. They're all sort of made of scrap parts, so no two synthesizer would ever make the same sound. Dude, there is a little mini documentary on YouTube. Go watch it, man. Like,
What's it called?
I think it's just called like it's on Mick Gordon's channel, and he just sort of talks
Okay.
about him making
Google
it.
Mick Gordon.
Yeah, because like, you know, he's done a ton of good stuff, he's like Killer Instinct, all that sort of stuff as well. But this, oh man, dude, this soundtrack is just so good. Like, even though it has sort of the lame like we went into the darkness,
Yeah.
garbage throughout.
Yeah, but
it.
that's part of the weird kind of
Appeal of
charm,
Doom, yeah.
ridiculousness.
Yeah, but like the
to
opening,
it,
it's like
I
what they
thought.
call him, the Doomslayer. It's like, yeah, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Done. That should
And
be.
You know, like,
And just-
you know what it reminded me? You know, like War?
Oh, it is very Guari, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
See, like for me, because it's more industrial, so it's more kind of like a little bit of, you know, when I listen to it, I think of very newish Slipknot, just sort of a very basic-y, open, you know, like open sort of, not very high-end chords. I got a lot of
Not
like
like the old
new
stuff
metal
where they
sort of
used to-
stuff as well, because like
Yeah.
Down tuned.
yeah, down tunes
Yeah.
what I wanted. Yes, like me, I unashamedly love new metal. Like new metal is where I found my metal like love, like to that, you know, that which then evolved into metalcore, and it's just that really it's fucking I'm whistle right now. Fuck you guys.
Hold on.
I psyched myself up so hard. I'm bailing.
Jono, what
I
is
think we're
your...
back to, are we back to you, Dylan?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I got so distracted. I was like, I just agree with Doom too. Okay, yeah, my go. My second one is the one I wasn't 100% sure in, and I'm kind of breaking my own rules because the music wasn't made directly for it, and it is the Hotline Miami.
Oh man. Yeah, dude, I've been trying to hunt that
story
shit
with
down
that?
on vinyl for like months.
I got it on vinyl.
Oh fuck you.
It's amazing. I listen to it all the time. The artwork on it and the artwork on the actual vinyl discs, like it's got the chicken mask and it's like a red violin, all sorts of shit. Oh man, it is amazing. I love it so much.
That's awesome.
But Hotline Miami is like I listen to it. There's a couple songs off that soundtrack I listen to nearly daily without even exaggerating. Like it's like get amped kind of music, like very bassy, like the techno dubstep, whatever you want to, like whatever
Electronica.
electronic music of
Yeah.
some sort, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. But there's some real bassy tunes from the first Hotline Miami that I just absolutely love. And yeah, so the part that I was like, oh, it's cheating is because it is the soundtrack was made by a whole bunch of different artists. And I think some of them were like friends with the developer or something like that, or they knew of them. And they kind of just like his songs, but they weren't made for the game, but they're basically known for being
Like
in
it's
the
synonymous.
game.
No one's ever gonna be like, oh yeah, I know that song from X album. It's like, no, that's Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they went from so I kind of whatever, guys. I mean, I've got a Hotline Miami soundtrack on vinyl. I'm accepting it.
Yeah, no, that counts. That's
We'll
fair.
allow it.
It's a
Yeah,
great,
it's
it's a great soundtrack. It's absolutely
no,
Yeah, so that's
definitely
my
on there.
favorite one. And Hotline, the music in that game, and part of the reason that makes it so great is the music in that game is half the reason to play that game to me. Like, and if the music wasn't as good as it was, you would not feel the mood and the genre of what that game is, which is this kind of 80s whatever exploitation type
Yeah.
like genre they're going for, I suppose you'd call it. And the music really sells that whole package together. And I think if the music was crap and they didn't go for the type of tunes that they chucked in with it, then it's just the perfect, like, especially knowing that these songs weren't composed by one person for this particular game. It's just like, the songs are so perfect. Every single level, like I can hear a song and be like, oh, it's that level where you face this dude, like burst in the door, like, because I got the platinum in the game too, so I've replayed some of those levels so many freaking times, like bursting in doors, jumping on dudes' heads, smashing their faces in with bottles. It's just like, I know some of these songs like back to heart. But yeah,
Just like high school, hey?
Yeah, pretty much. All right, Jono, what's your last one?
So my last one, which is a bit of a boring answer because it's quite close to Jack's, but it's Final Fantasy VII, which for whatever everything that Jack said about Final Fantasy VIII is how I feel about 7. I played that game in my youth. I played it for, however long it takes, 60, 70 hours. Played it with my brother. We took it in turns. We passed the controller. And the soundtrack is just embedded in my head. Like, there's probably 50 or 60 songs in there. And almost every single one, I could tell you which part of the game is from.
The Golden Saucer song.
Yeah. And like there's so many iconic tunes like the Cosmo Canyon one and
the Chocobo songs from there.
The Chocobo song, the Golden Saucer, like you said, and every character has their own theme, like Aera's theme, the piano, and then there's Sephiroth's like the boss music.
The One-Winged Angel is one of the greatest pieces of video game music ever.
That's right. Shout out to Mega Ran. He's done like the Black Materia album, which is pretty much 8 or 9 Final Fantasy VII songs with lyrics wrapped over the top of them that tell the story of Final Fantasy VII, and it's so good. Like,
did you ever watch? As a bit of a side note to this, did you ever watch Advent Children?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it?
I did, because I was 14 or 15, and I was like, "This is a Final Fantasy VII movie."
You're the same as me. 'Cause I watched it. I watched it when I was probably how old I was, like, I don't know, like
10 or 11,
10 or 11 or something like that, and it was one of the best things I'd ever seen at the time. And when it got to the scene where this One-Winged Angel music kicked in, I fucking lost my shit sitting on my TV like, this is the... It just gets you so amped, like... It's like...
Just on that, what did everyone think the first time they saw the Final Fantasy movie, Spirits Within, or whatever it's called?
Oh, it's terrible. I fell asleep.
I remember being really stoked about, like, this is a computer-generated movie. This is the future. Yeah. And, like, in my head, it was pretty well made, but I would hate to go back to it, actually.
I remember thinking it looks really cool, but I'm not really feeling what's happening.
Yeah, I got lost in all the wank about Gaia and Earth, and there was an eagle at one point.
Yeah, it turns out if you condense a typical Final Fantasy story into an hour and a half, it's just crap.
Yeah,
true. You could say that about pretty much every single JRPG.
Yeah.
Like, did you like it? Did you, Jack? You didn't really say.
I when it first came out, I was like, fucking, I don't know, 11, 10 maybe even.
That sounds right.
And I just remember being like, it's got Final Fantasy on the cover. And then I remember watching it and being like, okay, Steve Buscemi, Alec Baldwin, like I recognize the voices. Yeah, so I would have been 11 when it first came out. And I remember being like, where are the swords?
Where's the sword with the gun?
Yeah, like what's going on? When's Squall coming into this bad boy?
Yeah, I remember seeing it, like a poster for it and something, and like nagging my dad and it never came to the cinema here, so I had to wait for it to come out on VHS. And I'd been so hyped up for this. Like, Dad, as soon as it comes out, you need to rent this movie for me. It's a Final Fantasy movie. Look at the graphics on the animated characters. It's going to be the best thing ever. I actually fell asleep. I was, however old I was, probably 9, I think. Probably, yeah. Or if it came out in like September or something. Yeah, but it was like, I actually fell asleep. And I've never gone back and finished it because I didn't understand what was even happening as a kid. Watching the movie, I was just like, I have no idea what is even happening in this movie. So yeah, that's that little.
Just like the games.
Well, no, because like even playing the games like 7 and stuff as a kid, it's like Sephiroth's a bad guy. I don't understand any of the subplot, and I didn't until I played it when I was older. But like even playing it then, it was just like, I'm a guy who's got to defeat the bad guy who's got a giant pokey stick sword. Cool, fight him, win.
Makes sense.
That's
Seems fair enough.
Pokey stick sword, yeah.
All right, Jack, what's your What's your last one?
So can I give a couple of shout outs before?
No, you can give shout outs at the end.
Okay, we'll give shout outs at the end. So my final. Are we including sound in this, or is it just music?
Well, it depends.
What
If
do
you're
you
a really
mean
big
sound?
fan of the door in Silent Hill, probably not.
Just music. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So
Soundtrack scores.
that eliminates. So that makes the decision for my final one. So my final one is Mega Man 2.
Yes.
Just
Thank you.
iconic, just fantastic. Every level is unique and different, and so catchy. And like, it's one of those ones where you play, like, you go through a session of play, whatever. And because obviously Mega Man, you're replaying levels sort of constantly. It's one of those ones that you go away from it and it's in your head. The songs are in your head like that, like the Metal Man, Woodman,
And the music's so tied to characters.
exactly, yeah, and it fits perfectly. It's one of those ones where, like, I wake up in the morning sometimes and I'm like, I can hear like Fireman's music or like Heat Man or whatever he's called in the game, Heat Man. I can hear Bubble Man, like I can hear their songs in my head some mornings when I wake up, and they're just, I think they're just fantastic. I think they are the perfect encapsulation of that era of video game music.
Yeah.
And they're just so varied and different. And then, like you said, they all suit each boss perfectly.
And level,
And
yeah.
each level, yeah, they're awesome. They're absolutely fantastic for that era. And it's amazing what they were able to do back then with different music. It's really is like a pretty impressive thing what they were able to produce considering what they had to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, when I said Shovel Knight, I very easily could have said Mega Man 2 because like you listen to the soundtrack and it's so heavily influenced, as well as a lot of other parts of the game, but especially the soundtrack and that chip tune kind of MIDI sounds.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your last one, Ryan?
So this is where we get tough, right? Because like I'm trying to think of just things that beat the shit, like just punch me like straight away. And it seems like a cop out answer, but I'm going with it. Fuck you. It's Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's a good pick.
Because like like when it opens, like
Yeah.
you just
No, I'll buy
like
it.
you'll feel
I'll buy
like
it. It was on my short list. It was on my short
like
list.
you're there. You hear that weird like yelling old fuck, and you're like, yeah, I'm in.
I remember when the game came out and they had like on their YouTube heaps of behind the scenes stuff. There was like a 10-15 minute video of like behind the scenes of the music
with the
and
choir.
The choir, and I remember just watching that and feeling just so epic, seeing like the dude, like I don't know what it is about watching an actual composer like in front of like this many people, and then you do, and then just the people like like I was like, oh yes.
Singing like a made-up language, it reminded me like of the Jewel of Fate.
Oh my god, I was about to think, because my brain went straight to the Jewel of Fate special features, and like they're all saying like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the? I have no idea what they're saying, but I'm really enjoying the shit out of
It doesn't
it.
matter. It doesn't matter. It hits you somewhere in your body that you don't know.
Side
The
note,
only good thing to come out of the
Fates,
So Pleasure Explosion, these songs is all I'm going to say.
Jewel of the Fates, side note, second best thing in Star Wars outside of the Star Wars theme. Just gonna put it out there.
And the
a great
best thing
song.
to come out of the prequels.
We're not getting
That's
into a
about it,
Star Wars
really, yeah.
argument. We don't have the time. I like this. Do you like I think Skyrim's the best one, but I think a lot of people for some reason put like I think a lot of people, if you look online, put Oblivion or Morrowind above it, which is crazy to me because like Skyrim just stands out.
Yeah,
heads
like
and toes
I
above.
spent like 150 like plus hours in Oblivion, but like the soundtrack doesn't ring a bell to me.
Stand out. No.
Like when I think, like if someone says Skyrim, I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah.
Dragonborn.
yeah.
Dragonborn. Yeah.
Dovahkiin,
Yeah. I did have that. I had the whole soundtrack. Where did I get a CD for that soundtrack? Was it in the collector's edition? I don't know. Or something?
Yeah, I think it might be because I've
or
got
the
one
special
lying
edition.
around the house somewhere.
Yeah, I've got one from somewhere, but I had that in my car for months when the game came out. So just driving around to and from work, like
Everything's super epic.
Ryan has 6 copies of Skyrim.
Oh, we
Does he
discussed
really?
before. I have many copies of Skyrim, and I'm gonna get more.
Goodness gracious.
'Cause I need that VR one.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
God,
you're
you're not
guy
one of
Jack
them.
hates.
He's the reason
Jack's
they're
like,
putting it out on
Jack's
every
like,
console.
who's buying all these fucking games?
Me.
Who's buying the Switch and
It's
the VR
Betson,
version?
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
The Switch one, I might draw the line. I might.
I doubt. Not by the sounds of not from what I'm hearing. So. All right, my last one is a Final Fantasy game. A Final Fantasy game that's not.
We might as well have just called this as Final Fantasy and Friends.
Yeah.
Well, I felt bad,
make
but
great
I mean,
soundtracks.
They do.
I didn't want to like. I felt like a lot of us, like I thought Jack would pick Final Fantasy as well, but it's just like, why change my top pick just for that sake? My top pick is Final Fantasy X, and I'm a huge fan of that game. Because that was like a game from my childhood that I played a lot like it's the Final Fantasy game I've played the most. When the HD remaster came out, me and Jack Oddly talked about this the other day. Like I played through the whole thing in like 2 days. I absolutely adore that game, and all the songs are fantastic. It is the best Final Fantasy soundtrack to me. I can hear music as you was talking about with 8. I can hear music from Final Fantasy X and be like, oh, this was that moment, this moment. There's a certain song from Final Fantasy X that's from a really, really sad moment in the game, and if I hear that song, I'll start tearing up.
Yeah,
like it just hits me straight away.
It's a Blitzball music, isn't it?
Hey,
it's a Blitzball theme, isn't it?
No.
It's Waka's theme.
It is so funny because there's that's the whole soundtrack's great. But as an extra note, there's that Rammstein song, or that isn't Rammstein.
Yeah.
That plays at the start. But everyone thought it was Rammstein. Yeah,
right at the start.
Which isn't actually, like, if you buy the CD for the soundtrack, I don't think it's actually included on it. It's just like this extra song that's like everyone remembers so fondly from Final Fantasy X because it's great. But yeah,
it's an awesome opening. It's amazing. It really
opening.
set the tone for that game being like a. Because everyone, you're going into it and
it's like a punk celebrity. He's a celebrity rock star game.
Yeah,
so.
but no, more like just the sort of. It was almost. I remember when that sort of the opening of that game and that song kicked in. It sort of signaled like a new era for Final Fantasy. It was sort of like we're getting away from that fully orchestral. And it's like we're gonna hit you with this fucking like hard fucking rock metal fucking song. Smashing it right in your face. It's like, oh fuck, this is something like completely different. And it sort of. They
go away from it though.
Yeah, exactly. It was more of the same after that, but it was almost like I felt like what it felt like to me was it was like their signaling of a new era of Final Fantasy, and they sort of they almost did.
I think it was because that song stands out so much different because it's like set in the like that time period, and then all of a sudden, spoilers for Final Fantasy X, you get like transported into the future, obviously, when the world's basically over, and everyone's kind of reset into a like different, like living in villages type thing, like cities. There's obviously no one uses machines, like machines aren't really allowed.
Machina.
Yeah, and so you have this like very like rocks like Rammstein song open the thing, huge cityscape, lights everywhere, look at the future, it's amazing. And then when the game goes back into an era where no one's really using machines and stuff like that, and you're going into these temples and Yuna's doing her summoner prayers and stuff like that, and it's very like dun dun dun, like your typical kind of stuff. But yeah, Final Fantasy X is probably my favorite game soundtrack of all time. Absolutely love it.
Cool.
Great thing. So if you want to do honorable mentions, we're going to put some ground rules, and we'll start with Jono once again if you want to chuck some out. We're not spending 10 minutes explaining every damn song and why you like it, Jack. All right, Jono, if you want to chuck out some honorable mentions, go for it.
How many can I do?
Let's say 5.
Okay.
If you have 5.
I had 8, I think.
So, do your favorite 5.
Yeah, Bully, Canis Canis,
Yeah.
The soundtrack for that game is so good, like super catchy. It's just good. The Persona 4 and 5, I'm counting that as 1. They've both just got that awesome idling music and the battle music. It's all cool. Mass Effect 2. Great spacey music. Fallout 3. It's a bit of a mix. It's got some licensed music like the ink blots.
Yeah, that's what I didn't count it because the licensed stuff's what stands out
but the
to
actual
me.
like the Fallout theme and some of the score in that game is just really
that would
really
be my
awesome.
honorable mention too, Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, because nothing sets like when you an example with like Fallout 4. Every song is it's beautifully matched to what that game is, and I would put that on the list as well because I want to just jerk Bethesda some more, because like it
Vegas,
and it just sets it perfectly. An example is like we were at one of those escape room things here in Geelong, And in the escape room, they open it up with like, you know, one of the song they used to market Fallout 4. I'm like, fuck, we're gonna die. But like, you know, they heard it and I'm like, oh, it's Fallout 4. And like, and that's just the power of like that right sound design and matching it with what works.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And my fifth one, I've just thought as we're talking now, is BioShock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just that atmospheric thing. It's got similar to Fallout, it's got the old timey tunes, but I think they're all original in that game. Or mostly anyway. Yeah.
Most of them are, I think.
Yeah. And it sets the atmosphere really well. It's really eerie, but also of an era.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Jack.
That's me.
My honourable mentions, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch is my first honourable mention. Ni no Nana. Just a great sort of RPG soundtrack, really uplifting, really somber. Fit every song, every tune in that game fits in perfectly with the mood at the time. So that one gets a shout out. This one's a little bit of a cop out, but Pokemon Yellow.
It was on my list.
The Game Boy.
It was on my list.
I wasn't sure whether we could jump onto the Pokemons because outside of Hotline Miami, Last of Us I think did vinyl. There is a Pokemon vinyl out there somewhere, and I'm hunting it so fucking hard.
That'd be crazy.
I need it. I need it.
Just another one of those ones, you know, songs from your childhood. You can the town songs, the battle songs, yeah, all of it. Just absolutely fantastic. Takes me back to being a little tack up. Witcher 3, pretty standard sort of call out. Fantastic.
The Gwent music.
Gwent, Gwent is my current PS4 theme. So I get to hear the music every time I turn my PS4 on. No more explanation needed for Witcher 3. It's absolutely unreal from start to finish. Gallagher is my next call. Gallagher's the first video game I ever played on the Game Boy, and that theme music is really special to me. I love it to death. It's not the best theme music of any video game, but it's really special to me, and I love it so much. The whole game, just the whole thing I just absolutely love it. Gallagher, unreal. And the last one, and this was going to be my third option if I could have sound as well, but Max Payne 2 is my call. So that just the way that game's presented, as far as,
are you saying like sound because of the car noises and
just so and because there's no real music in that game outside of the cutscenes. It's only it's like the noir sort of type music in the comic book. So and I'm specifically talking about those comic book, like the way they present the cutscenes as comics, with like the sound effects of like the car door shuts and Max is walking over,
more of the radio
breath.
theater side of
but that real it's almost the same song the whole way through for all of the cutscenes. It's just that somber, real noir, like New York detective type tune. Really like Max Payne's one of my favorite games, and that one's I think really great, underrated. Like you would never think Max Payne, or when you think of great music, but if you go back and like listen, if you just watch like a YouTube video of some of those cutscenes, you'll understand why.
Ryan,
look, as I said, I've pretty much busted all the ones I know I can think of off the top of my head.
You can shout out Tony Hawk's.
Okay, good, done. All right, cool. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Nothing is more pivotal in anyone's life than the soundtrack Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I'm thinking of Indigo Prophecy, or Fahrenheit as it was known here in Australia, which is the David Cage game. That soundtrack had about 3 songs on it, and they were all by Theory of a Dead Man. Really, really solid artist I'd never heard of until that soundtrack, and I fucking loved it. What else have I got out there? This is super weird. It's not even a song. It's like an ad. So in Tekken 3, if you left it on the menu for a little too long, it would go into this little like arcade trailer, and it had this sort of guitar-ish song with like and it was
remember that. I remember that.
I love the shit out of that. Like,
these deep cuts coming right now.
Tekken 3. That's one that's probably like that's probably in like the top 5 of games I put the most hours into.
Yes, like
fucking game.
because like I was pretty poor growing up, so I smashed pretty much demo discs. So like the demo 1 disc, which had like Cooler World, Medieval, and Tekken.
Yes.
Like that's why I can play Eddie so well. Is because I either had Eddie or Xiao. I don't know how to pronounce it. So like I've just learned how to master Eddie properly. And like when you mentioned Final Fantasy VIII, I had the same thing. I had the demo disc for that, and I beat the shit out of it. But yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much wraps up all mine because you guys sort of ticked all the boxes.
That's great. I'm glad to hear we was doing some good work. My last ones were I had Witcher 3 as my 4th one, so that's already been mentioned. At my 5th one, if we're going down, was Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
That's also like simple and clean. I think everyone in my age at high school that played that game, the opening song for Kingdom Hearts is "Will you take me away, please, oh baby?" That one, like that was just.
You remember it very differently than me, I think.
Yeah, no, that's my best impression. Final Fantasy 9, I'm going to give a shout out to as well.
Nice,
It's my second favorite soundtrack and probably underrated Final Fantasy game. I'm going to chuck Crash 3 on my list.
Oh, we could
Once
put
again,
Crash on
playing
there.
it.
Yeah, I'm totally crashing my list too. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Plus Crash 3. How is that? 1, 2, 3. Bloodborne. Absolutely great soundtrack. Everything, a recent one as well that has an amazing soundtrack and sound. If you want to give the sound, if you want to talk about a game that has the whole package, it's Bloodborne. And I'll give a shout out to a little game for a song that everyone knows called Portal.
Yeah.
Because I know it doesn't have that much music, but
Well, just that song alone, like technically it's a soundtrack because it was made for the game. It was the same thing we're going about when we mentioned
I
before.
think if you want to say, like, you could say Portal 2 because it has more music. So,
But like when you think when anyone says Portal, they think of that Still Alive song. Period.
yeah, so those ones, I suppose. Gone Home, even if you want to let me get away with a game that doesn't have much music, but I think was a very important part of it.
I think that falls into sound more. Gone Home. Yeah.
No, the song that plays, there's a couple songs that play like stuff that's
From
on
the
the radio,
mixtapes, yeah,
and stuff in the mixtape
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like, it's a really weird use of music in a game, but like it stands out to me. From that game.
We've missed kind of the most iconic
Gonna say Mario
soundtrack and Super
Well, this-
Mario Brothers 1.
Yeah,
I know it's a
had
PlayStation podcast.
I had Super Mario Brothers on my list as well,
Yeah.
on my short list. I also had Legend of Zelda on my short list.
So I thought we'll go on PlayStation centric. So I'm like, well, there's these ones, and it's like,
No, you can do whatever you want.
I just
but,
wanted to
like,
say shout out to Super Mario 1, 2, and 3. They've all got awesome
Mario
soundtracks.
64 is the definitive.
shout out to
Mario
Tetris,
music.
guys. That's
No.
the shit.
Oh,
best Mario soundtrack is Galaxy.
I can't speak to that.
just on the just on the
The
Tetris,
original one, yeah.
just on the Tetris one. There's a song. If you actually this goes for everyone listening, and Jaden Pryor will no doubt get this. There's a song by a band or a
Tone
rap
Deaf.
group. No, I think Tone Deaf has maybe has something to do with it. I'm not 100% sure, but it's called they're called EFAM, and they have a song called which is Extended Fam. It's called Line Drop. It's available on iTunes. If you download that song and listen to it, it's like a rap song, but it goes to the Tetris music. But the thing with Tetris, the music gets faster and faster as the game goes along. They rap faster and faster as the song goes along. It's awesome. It is a fantastic song. I recommend it. It's called Line Drop by Extended Fam. Extended spelt the way you'd think. FAMM for fam. So go check that out on iTunes.
Cool.
It's amazing.
So that's our official,
So
in quotation marks,
Oh,
list.
we have
the
the written
definitive list, the definitive video games
definitive
music
list of
list,
best music ever.
as done by the Explosion Network and the PopCulturists. We have Shovel Knight, Metal Gear Solid 2, Journey, The Last of Us in parentheses Gus, Red Dead Redemption, Final Fantasy VIII, Doom 2016, Hotline Miami, Final Fantasy VII, Mega Man 2, Skyrim, and Final Fantasy X.
That's a
There you
pretty
go.
good list.
That's
It's
a
varied.
pretty
It's
fucking
I really
awesome
enjoyed
list.
The Last of Gus. I think The Last of Gus is a really good one.
The Last of
Last
Gus. Before we wrap up today, I do have a quick move into quickly hashtag every trophy counts, of course, as we end every show with. As mentioned before, the Horizon updated added 1 bronze and 1 silver, which fucks all your 100%, which is a first world problem
And
to
those
have.
trophies suck too.
Oh, I better let Josh know. Josh is going to cry.
you'd now have a bronze for finishing the game on New Game Plus, and you have a silver for finishing the game on New Game Plus on ultra hard difficulty.
Could have given them fucking golds. That's just fucking trolling. They're just fucking trolling now.
And the only other game that I could see on the list that stood out to me simply because of its little count I saw was a game called Black the Fall, which had 1 platinum, 10 gold, and 4 silver, 0 bronze, which of course to me was like, oh shit, guys.
Gotta get on that. Good for that trophy level.
I was like, what's this terrible game with easy trophies? I Google it. I find it on Steam. I watch the trailer. I go, oh shit, this game with easy trophies actually looks fucking awesome. When's this come out? This week. Oh, sweet. I'd suggest everyone go look this up. It is a side-scrolling esque, I don't know, it's 2.5D it looks like to me, puzzle game with a really cool art style where I suppose it's set in like alternate future because it says after decades of toil, an old machinist plots his escape from communism through the manipulation of scheming. Along the road, he befriends the most unlikely creature, an abandoned robot. Could they solve the puzzles and flee this bleak world together? So it's like alternate reality type thing with this dude trying to like escape, but the art style I'm really interested in. The story and the world and everything I'm really interested in. And it also, as mentioned, has 10 golds, a bunch of silvers and a platinum. So I'm down.
How many dollars is it?
No idea. I couldn't find it on the...
I guarantee you Australia's not getting it.
I want, but yeah, I'll give a shout out to that game because I never heard of it till today, and it looks really cool, and it also has cool trophies. I don't know if they're easy or not, but it's got golds, so I'm down. Thank you for joining us, everyone, today. This has been a great episode of the official list of all things to talk about with music, where we don't talk about games like Vice City. You know, Vice City. Best GTA soundtrack as well, if you want to go on that sound.
San Andreas was pretty good.
Well, it depends on what you dig. If you're a real big,
Rage Against the
I
Machine.
need that Phil
Vice
Collins.
City's pretty
Phil
dope.
Collins.
Cypress
Dun,
Hill.
dun, 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 dun. That part was that's the bomb. Anyway, thank you for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Don't forget to rate the show on iTunes. Head to Twitter and tweet at us and just say how much you loved it, and tweet me your favorite. Tweet at the network your favorite, your top three. Don't do top 5. Look, we did top 3 each. Don't change the rules. No one said you're allowed to do that. Don't do that. Head to explosionnetwork.com to check out all our other shows. Head to twitch.tv/explosionnetwork where we stream several times a week. There's a community stream on Thursday. Don't know what it is. It'll be something. Where can people find you, Jono?
Jono, that's me. You can find me on Twitter at... Well, I was waiting for you to say who you were talking to. You can find me on Twitter at Jono himself. And this week on my other podcast, Putting In Work, you can listen to my conversation with the one and only Ryan Betson from the PopCulturists.
Hey, that guy's a dick.
So you can hear Ryan talk about starting a Patreon and kind of building a small but hardcore community of followers. Awesome. So that's a really good chat.
Jack.
You can find me on Twitter at Cruzy_mate, YouTube CruzyMate. Also, if you have, we're going to be doing an extra special segment on Grandstand Gurus this week, and we'll be taking listener questions for the very first time. So, if you have some questions you'd like to ask sports related, they can be esports related if you're a nerd like Kieran, please hit us up at ExplosionPod on Twitter and shoot through your Grandstand Gurus questions.
Great. And you can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil, and you can find me on YouTube there and just Google me. Now, Ryan.
Yes.
The table is yours. Pimp everything that's your life.
You can find myself, my buddy Josh, and my other buddy Dylan on... Not you, Dylan. Another Dylan. Much taller and fatter Dylan. You can find us at the PopCulturists. That's PopCulturists. The PopCulturists. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, most social medias that ever do exist. As I mentioned, we do have our PlayStation show for the players. Releases every Monday at the 9 a.m.s. I don't use social media outside myself. But if you want to follow me on Twitter for any reason when I decide to use it, you can follow me at HaggardMC. That's HaggardMC. That's my love of Bam Margera.
I was going to make note of this.
Yep.
This is how I was going to end the show. I was going to make note of this.
My love of Bam Margera and Hilltop Hoods when I was like 15.
Awesome.
We have assembled a trio of people with Viva Ladil, Haggard, like Bear Majera and Rab
Sounding
himself references in their Twitter
names.
handles. Yeah. So
That's
never going to happen.
It's a good effort.
Anywhere on the internet, this is the only place.
Was you done, or did we get sidetracked?
Patreon. Pimp the Patreon.
Oh,
Patreon.
yes, and of course, patreon.com/thepopculturists. Yeah, we do a bunch of cool little things in there. It's, we do have a cool little pack with a bunch of merch and stuff that we're sort of starting to build out. So if you feel the need, you can jump on there. And, Dylan himself was a Patreon for a little bit then. I do appreciate that little bump at the start. Do really help it, man. Thank you so much.
I had to buy Mac. I'm sorry.
No, dude, it's perfectly fine. Every little bit counts, man. You helped us buy some lights for the studio, and I greatly appreciate it.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Awesome.
Good one, Dylan.
Thanks, Jono. I had a great time. Thanks for everyone for hanging around. Thank you, Ryan, for being
No
part
worries.
of the
Thanks
show.
for inviting me,
This has
guys.
been great to have you. Everyone have a great night, afternoon, morning, whatever the hell you listen to this show. Plat, plat.
Plat, plat.
Black.
I gotta say it, plat plat.